Yep. Okay, I think we're unanimous on that one. So we'll go to the Sharks against the Dragons, and yep, as expected, no Sean Johnson named in the squad this week. He wasn't playing last week anyway. Pulled out just the day before the game, and Moylan obviously slotted into that shirt. Moylan is named in the six this time. So that brings Trindle, I think, has come to the bench from last week's squad. And yeah, for the Dragons, substantially more changes. Cody Ramsey in at fullback. You got no Matt Duffy. Pereira's back on the wing. You've got no Ravalawa this week. Burns from the bench to the centre. You know, you've got your bench of Ellis, Hunt, Alvaro, and Amon. No Josh McGuire as well, another victim of the judiciary panel. So big changes for the Dragons here.
Big changes for the Dragons and an easy tip for me, Sharks 13+. Matt Moylan looked okay in the halves last week. Didn't look great, but did enough, did his job. William Kennedy, I think, is going to have a field day parading around the edges there in attack. It wouldn't surprise me if the likes of Hiroti and Connor Tracy both get doubles. Whoever's on Jordan Pereira's side is going to have a double. That is my tip. I think it's going to be Hiroti there. They do. The Sharks do have what I think is a substantially better forward pack. Not only starting, but on the bench. You've got Teague Wilton, Jack Williams, and Andrew Fifita on the bench for the Sharks to go with Rudolph, Graham, Nakora, Woods, Tolman, Brayley. Majority of those have played rep footy at some point in their career. You go against that, you have Blake Laurie, not bad, serviceable. McCulloch, a journeyman. Vaughan has played rep footy, and then you have Kerr, Ford, and Farmasili. Powasa hasn't played a lot of football this year, has not made a big impact. And then you have Ellis, the debutant, and Jaden Hunt, Dan Alvaro, and Junior Amon. You know, it just doesn't scream points. The Dragons do not scream points to me this week. They did last week. They have for a couple of weeks. But no Duffy is a big loss. And you saw when he came off that the Dragons' attack went kaput. They do have the option of potentially dropping Pereira out of the side, sending Ramsey back to the wing, and playing Beale in the centres with Bird at fullback. But even then, I just don't see the Dragons having a lot of attack. A lot of it will fall on Ben Hunt and Corey Norman to create their own sort of attacking prowess, and I just don't see it happening. Yeah, anytime try scorer, like I said, pick whichever winger is going to go up against Pereira. I think it's Hiroti, and put him down for a double.
Okay, that's an ambitious shout. There's a lot of ambitious calls in there. I join your line of thinking. I think the Sharks win this one. Too many changes for the Dragons. You know, no Ravalawa, so they've lost that power close to the line. Burns is not an outright centre. He's used to playing in the second row. Yes, he can play centre, but again, you see it all the time in the NRL when you have an unfamiliar centre wing partnership. One of them tends to bite in, and that'll drag another player in. Pereira has a tendency to bite in, so I'd say that Hirot is definitely due if he lines up opposite him. Again, on the other side, Figai and Bird, 3 games together they've had. Ramsey at fullback, I don't know how he's going to command that back line and really order that structure around, especially when you've got a player as good as Matt Duffy out. You know, you've seen it. I think it was maybe a year, 2 years ago, there was huge question marks around whether Duffy was good enough. He was missing tackles. His commitment wasn't maybe there. And then all of a sudden, Duffy explodes onto the scene and he shuts everybody up. And ever since, he's been one of the Dragons' best. And when you get him coming onto a ball and he manages to check the line a little bit and find that gap, you're just not catching him. Yes, Ramsey's got speed, but is he as agile going at the line as Matt Duffy? No, definitely not. So I think they've lost a real threat on their kick return game there. The Sharks, in previous seasons, we've seen they've got points in them. The Sharks have always been good for a decent amount of points, which is a problem considering that their defense is, you know, also good for an amount of points. You know, you see it this season, Sharks 182 scored, 258 conceded. Dragons 211 scored, 213 conceded. So the Dragons have been slightly more consistent. Sharks without winning their last 5. Dragons just a 1 coming up against the Bulldogs. That were a 32-12 win. But again, a win against the Bulldogs is nothing to write home about. But saying that, the Sharks have experienced a 12-18 loss against the Bulldogs in there as well. But the Sharks are due. I think they are due. I think they've been read the riot act on enough occasions now to know that they need to get their act together, because their finals hopes are going to fade very, very quickly. And I think that they get up on the Dragons here. I'm not going to say a winning margin here. I just think there's going to be points in this one. I can see this one going for 46, over 46 and a half. I mean, what's the line on this one?
I can't say I've got sports bet up, but if I had to hazard a guess, give me a minute. I can tell you, you grumpy old man. If I had to hazard a guess, I would imagine that it would be something around a 42.5 to 44.5. I can tell you in about T-minus 30 seconds. I can tell you that Harodi for a double is about $3.30, probably a bit more. What do we have? Total match points. Cronulla 44.5.
44.5. I'd say that goes over. I mean, even when you go to the previous results, the last 2 matchups between these two, Sharks 32-18 win, Sharks 28-24 win. There's points in this game. There's always points in this game, and especially with a wilted Dragons defense as well. So that's going to be what I put on that one, because otherwise I'm just going to end up following you on your Hiroti tip, but just putting him down for a single. But I say that one goes over the 42.5 on that.
All right. Well, for anyone that is curious and wants to throw on our tips on that one, I know we haven't pulled this one out in a hot minute, but over 44.5 and Hiroti for a double. Put that in a multi, $10. Hiroti paying $4.50 for a double.